Okay, Year 12, welcome to dot point 5 and dot point 6, changing patterns of religious adherence. Dot point 5 says you have to outline changing patterns of religious adherence in Australia from 1945 to the present using census data. Okay, in 1947, so just after 1945, Australia was predominantly Anglo-Celtic. This has changed dramatically. Okay, when we started in 1945, everybody Anglo. Now, not so much. It's an interesting point to note what looks wrong with these figures above. I'll give you a hint. Christian, other than Christian, non-religious. It's not important, but when I get back, we're just going to have a really quick conversation about it. What looks odd about those? Okay, basically after World War II, and why it changed and why there's a changing pattern of adherence after 1945 is World War II happened, Australia lost a lot of people, so the government introduced this idea of populate or perish. We had no one left. We had this threat of communism coming through Southeast Asia. What were we going to do? Basically, prior to 1945, there was very limited immigration into Australia from anyone other than England. After 1945, populate or perish saw drastic changes in immigration policy, and this saw a wave of people migrating to Australia from Europe. We started with the Scandi countries, the Netherlands, Finland, Norway, Denmark, and then that slowly moved throughout France, Italy, and Germany. Now, what did these immigrants mean for the Australian population? Well, with them came whole lots of different religious traditions. So prior to the immigration changes in 1945, because we were Anglo-Celtic and because we came from England, the majority of individuals were Anglican. However, this changed dramatically with immigration from Europe, where people were predominantly Catholic. So, it says that you have to use census data. Dot point 6 talks about using census data and accounting for immigration in relation to the 5 following things. If you get asked this as a question, it will be a 5-mark question. If you get asked this question, it will also have a piece of census data. Now, the census is the acquisition of information by the government in relation to its population. You've probably heard of it before. This information gets described or illustrated or demonstrated through tables, usually, through tables or diagrams or patterns. So should you see a table like this, you need to talk about those 4 factors. Those 4 factors, again, were Christianity as a major religious tradition, immigration, denominational switching, the rise of New Age religions, and secularism. If you go in and have a look at the PowerPoint, it will talk in more detail about those 5 factors. However, when you look at this and you are asked to look at a question in relation to how has immigration changed based on the above figure, you need to look for evidence of those 5 things. The PowerPoint also talks about how those 5 factors are evident. What's the evidence that you look for? One of the biggest ones is that if you look at religious, we'll start with Catholic Christianity as a major tradition. Let's have a look at that. All Christians. In 1911, it was 4,272. And then we went 9,278. Then we went 12,000. Then we went 13,000. So basically, Christianity, if you compare it to, say, Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism and Judaism and non-religious, even though non-religious is clearly climbing, even though it's clearly climbing, Christianity is still the most major religious tradition, and that's how you have to talk about it. So first you'd say Christianity is the most major religious tradition, and here is the evidence. It is still comparatively, Christianity, in terms of a religious tradition most adhered to by the Australian population, it is still the greatest. The second thing you have to talk about is immigration. Okay, you can look at a few different things here. What you're looking for is what we talked about before briefly, is that after 1947, so this one's a bit dodgy because it just goes 1911, 1961, you might notice that in 1911 they had 1,700, Oh, sorry, that's Anglican. In 1911, we had 996 people. Lo and behold, in 1961, so about 10 years after immigration changed, we had 2,620. So 15 years later, that has doubled and a bit. 9 months and 9. And that is your evidence of immigration, that Europeans migrated after the abolition of the White Australia policy and brought Catholicism. Okay. Another example of it is post-1970. So you would look between 1961 and 1991. You would look at this right here. So the increase in Buddhism, mainly Buddhism. This is a result of immigration of Vietnamese people after post-Vietnam War, which is after 1970. You can also have a look at this increase here, so of Hinduism. So from 43.6 thousand up until to 275,000. So I mean, that's huge. That is really, really huge increases in adherence in Hinduism, and also here in Islam, mainly due to immigration of peoples from war-torn countries, so Pakistan, Syria, anywhere in the Middle East, the Sudan and Africa, bringing with them previously unseen religions in the Australian landscape. So that's Muslim, Islam and Hinduism. The next thing that you are looking for is a rise in New Age religions. Now, you will not be able to particularly find anything like that. What you will basically find is not stated or inadequate, no religion, essentially. This increase here will be seeing as no form of institutional religion. This is also a result of denominational switching. Now, I cannot describe what denominational switching is in this video because I seriously just don't have enough time. Denominational switching is really started in the mid-90s, and it was when people started to shop around. So they went, look, actually, I've been part of Catholicism for ages. I can't really be bothered anymore. And so then they're like, I need to find a better religion, a religion that fits me better, that I want, that meets my needs. So they go and have a look at some of the Pentecostal churches. They go and hang out at Hillsong enough, and they said, is this for me? Is this going to meet my needs? Mainly with that mentality, what they're going to find after a while is that they're just not going to find anything for them that fits them, that's right for them, because that's not actually what religion's about. And after a while, what that denominational switching occurs is not jumps in Catholicism or Pentecostal, or that's not the evidence I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for the evidence here as well, and I can reuse this fact. And it's the increase in no religion. Because what actually happens is that after a while, people find that no religion really suits them, because religions aren't about suiting people. They're about adhering to a belief system. And so after a while, they'll find, this doesn't actually work for me, so I'm out. And that's why you can use the increase in non-religion as a factor to explain denominational switching. Finally, the last line is secularism, and that's the rise in non-religion. The reason you're looking for it, what you're looking for is, again, we're going to recycle the same thing. It's this guy here. So secularism is a result of society becoming less focused on religion. So back in 1911, religion and government were very closely tied. So was society. Now in recent years, that has been moving away. So 1991, 2011, we've seen 17.8 all the way up to 479.6.8. So it's important when you answer these questions that you refer directly to the graph that you were given. It's also important that you look for evidence of those 5 factors. More information is in the PowerPoint. Again, sorry for going over the time limit, but I didn't have a choice.